Our agenda has been published, and I think you all have a copy of that. Item number 1 is the prayer that will be led by Chaplain Jill Ewell. We'll observe a moment of silence before that in memory of 9/11, and when she begins to pray, that will end that moment of silence. So if you'll come forward, if everyone will please stand, and then we'll have the pledge led by Mayor Pro Tem Tom O'Rourke.
For those of you who would like to join me in prayer, please join your hearts with mine in accordance with your own faith tradition. O great Creator, thank you for this day. Thank you for the members of this council who have taken on the important responsibility to pave the way for our town to be the best that it can be. Help them during this meeting to be present with open hearts and open minds to do what is best for all. Help them to listen to one another with respect and the intention of knowing all are coming with concern, ideas, and wisdom to help make decisions on behalf of the people of this great town. In gratitude for all those who work, serve, and live in Mount Pleasant, who are trying to keep us safe, healthy, and thriving, and making a difference in the lives of others, I ask you, Most Holy One, to protect us and guide us in our personal calls to serve the greater good. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Item number 3 is approval of the agenda. Do we have a motion, please?
Move for approval.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of approval, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The agenda is approved. Item 4 is public hearings, awards, and presentations. Mr. DeMora, if you will read those for us. Thank you very much.
I'd be happy to, sir. Good evening, Mayor, members of council. First item of business is to recognize Business Appreciation Month, and in doing so, I invite up President of the Mount Pleasant Chamber, Eddie Phipps, along with Michael Cochran and Rebecca Imholz, if you'll please join me. I'll go ahead and read the proclamation, and doing so on your behalf, sir. Whereas the town of Mount Pleasant is a business-friendly community that would like to show appreciation to the individuals that do business here and contribute to the growth and economic health of our community. And whereas the local economy of Mount Pleasant is stimulated by businesses that create jobs and employment opportunities, allowing citizens to earn money, support their families, and thus reinvest in the community. Whereas the town of Mount Pleasant supports the entrepreneurial spirit by being a community that not only welcomes new businesses, but supports them by providing resources and offering assistance through the startup process. And whereas the town strives to build and strengthen relationships amongst local entrepreneurs and business owners and create a supportive, open, and encouraging business environment that is inviting and attractive. And whereas the town of Mount Pleasant wishes to showcase and recognize the success of businesses within the community. And now, therefore, I, Will Haney, Mayor of the town of Mount Pleasant, proclaim September 2021 as Business Appreciation Month in the town of Mount Pleasant, with the goal of providing a fresh and ever-evolving atmosphere to remain a competitive, interesting, and desirable destination in which to do business in Mount Pleasant. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Phipps, President Phipps, I should say.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor. Very exciting to receive the proclamation. We appreciate it. I have a little PowerPoint presentation for you. This is the State of the Chamber address. And I'd like to begin to discuss the PowerPoint with our members. Our membership is the chamber, and it's a strong membership. It's very powerful. We have the municipal, corporate, platinum sponsors, but the basic sponsors are the core to the chamber, and we strive to serve them as you do. We have a 17 member board, all volunteers. And we thank you for your service as you sacrifice time away from your families and your own work to come do what you do. We truly appreciate it. We have a Mount Pleasant Chamber Foundation. We're trying to grow this and so that we can give back to the community. Our staff supports the chamber and provides information on daily to citizens and visitors. In regards to community events, hotels, restaurants, business, you may not realize this, but we get a lot of phone calls, almost like a welcome center. And we only have 2 full-time staff, part-time, but they do full-time work. And we appreciate everything they do, Rebecca and Tamara. But they do field a lot of information, which is kind of can be daunting at times. The pivot. So 2020 created us to, just like everybody else, to kind of reinvent how we do business. We went virtual like everybody else. We went Zoom. We had U.S. Congressman Joe Cunningham, Lieutenant Governor. We had Dr. Michael Schmidt, College of Charleston President, Charleston Southern University, and Dr. Goldsby Smith of the Citadel. We did not stop having events. We just went virtual. We had over 100 webinars providing need and information and connections. Our Expo, which is kind of the #1 thing we do at the Chamber, went virtual, and it was a huge success. We are now going live back to in-person Expo, and we think that it's going to be the greatest success that we've ever had before. We continue to give back. We gave away $5,000 to Rachel Thornton. She was the Wanda High School winner of the Joe Brinson Memorial Scholarship. And we also partnered with Feed the Need to donate $10,000 to hospitality workers that had been impacted by COVID. Thank you, Mayor Will Haney, for bringing that to our attention. We greatly appreciate that and the efforts that you brought for us to be able to do that. 2021, we are going forward. We're going to try to expand the membership, the Expo, philanthropy, strategic partners, and marketing and outreach. Our membership network is growing. We do after hours. We have young professionals meet. We have almost 50 to 45 members show up, maybe members, maybe not, but it's always a wonderful event that we have. Our luncheons at the Elmore Shrine Center, we've had great speakers. We've had the Mayor Will Haney. We've had Nancy Mace, Elliot Summey, Helen Hill, Eric Demore, Rob Fowler, Jim Newsom, David Ginn, and much more. Chris Singleton was fantastic. He spoke last month. We also, about 4 years ago, I started the First Responder Award. It's kind of appropriate being right after 9/11. I spent this whole weekend binging on 9/11 Netflix, you name it, anything I could watch. It was fantastic. Thank you to Chief Arnold, his prior chief, Richie, who's always been very helpful in providing candidates, Chief Mixon, and we've also expanded now to the Isle of Palms. We've also started bringing them in to try to recognize their first responders too. Celebrating new business, it's what we do. And we have done over 25 ribbon cuttings with the town. The town has graciously let us participate in a lot of those. We love our partnership with the town. We have our 11th annual Business Expo coming up. Is anybody timing me on this? Because I can go on for a long time. Okay. I see the 2-minute clock. I don't see it ticking. The Mount Pleasant Expo, it's coming up September 23rd. Please, everybody come, support your businesses, support the chamber. Our philanthropy, the supporting our community, the Joe Brinson Scholarship, we try to give back. They have done very, very hard work on some of this. And I've lost my talking points. Hold on. There we go. Strategic partnership, Know Your Lawmaker, that was a great success. We had over 100 people turn up to meet lawmakers. Marketing and outreach, social media, media partners. With all this and sponsoring of the Blessing of the Fleet, we've increased membership. Now, when COVID hit, we were probably at 275 in memberships. We saw a membership drop. When I came on as president, that was one of my fortes that I wanted to spark. We had a presidential challenge, which I challenged all the board members to bring in 5 of their friends, and I promised them that I would bring 10. I think you should lead by example. I brought 25 and took the lead on that, and I was happy to do it. Now, unfortunately, I had to tell them that the majority of them were probably lawyers, because I called my buddies and twisted their arms, so I apologized for that in advance. But we did get an uptick, so we're at 375, and it's continued to grow. So we're increasing membership. Leadership Mount Pleasant is going to be something that we're trying to bring to the board. We would probably like to partnership with the town and revolve that a little bit more. One of the next things probably, and Michael's going to be next year's president, and Michael Cochran is a strong force. Hopefully, he'll be able to follow my big shoes. And while I'm thinking of that, let me thank the prior presidents, Chris Stobbs, Shane Griffin. They did a really good job to continue what they do, had very large shoes to fill, and hopefully I've done good for them. We would like to get a brick and mortar, 4th largest city in the state, and why the chamber does not have a brick and mortar, it baffles me. So that has been one of my goals. We're constantly talking about it, constantly working on it. Mount Pleasantopoly, we're going to play the game. We've talked about it from the beginning of the year. We got 17 volunteers. It's hard to put that together, but we're going to play it, and it's going to be fun. 2022 leadership, like I said, it's going to be Michael Cochran. We have Jennifer Maxwell. They actually swapped because she was gifted with a child, and so she did not want to take that away from her presidency, and we kind of swapped to give her that ability to do that, and that was approved by the chamber, the board members. We're going to try to get a golf tournament and an inaugural gala to support the Mount Pleasant Chamber Foundation. We thank you for your partnership. We love the town. I love the town. It's interesting, me standing in front of here, used to do it as a police officer, do it as a lawyer, now as a president. It's fantastic. Y'all do a wonderful job. Thank you from the bottom of my heart.
Thank you, Eddie, and thank you to the chamber.
No, by no means. No, thank you.
We appreciate all y'all do for our community. Next.
Okay, Ms. Christine Schaefer, if you join me. Welcome.
Thank you.
This proclamation is in support of Childhood Cancer Awareness Month. And I'll also go ahead on your behalf, Mayor, read the proclamation. Whereas each year the parents of approximately 15,700 children will hear the words, "Your child has cancer." And whereas cancer is a leading cause of disease-related death among children. And whereas more than 40,000 children undergo treatment for cancer each year. 12% of children diagnosed do not survive, and 60% who do survive suffer long-term side effects, such as infertility, heart failure, and secondary cancers. And whereas cancer in children is generally not preventable, and its causes are unknown. And whereas Childhood Cancer Awareness Month recognizes the courage and compassion of those children and their families throughout South Carolina and the nation who have battled or are currently battling cancer. And whereas by working together to raise awareness of the devastating effects of childhood cancer and the need for continued research into the causes, improved treatments, and a cure for the disease, we can make a positive difference for families, patients, and survivors in the future. Now, therefore, I, Will Haney, Mayor of the Town of Mount Pleasant, proclaim the month of September 2021 as Childhood Cancer Awareness Month in the Town of Mount Pleasant, and encourage all residents to join together in honor of children who have been diagnosed with, survived, or lost their battle against cancer. Thank you, Ms. Schaefer, for being here. Would you like to say a few words?
Just thank you for going gold with September Child Cancer Awareness Month. It is it is a devastating time for children, and everyone knows pink is breast cancer. So across South Carolina, we're trying to make sure people know that gold is the universal color for childhood cancer. Thank you so much.
Thank you for your work. Next item on the agenda is longevity awards.
Yes, sir, and Mr. Weiss will lead us in his longevity awards. Andy? Thank you.
Kathy, if you could come join me, please. Mayor Haney, members of council, it is my pleasure to recognize Kathy Hutchinson for 25 years of service with the town of Mount Pleasant. Kathy started her career with the town as a laborer in the Facilities and Grounds Division in September of 1996. In March of 1999, she was promoted to be a crew leader. In July of 2010, she accepted reassignment to provide full-time custodial support at the Senior Center. She quickly adapted to her new position and has become a key member of the Senior Center family. Kathy puts forth maximum effort and takes great pride in her work, and it shows when you look at the care she gives to the facility and its users. She does a tremendous job, and over the years, we have received many complimentary comments about Kathy. One user of the Senior Center went so far as to say, one of the highlights of her day is seeing Kathy Hutchinson's sweet smile when she goes to the Senior Center. Kathy is a great employee that shows compassion and dedication to her coworkers and the residents of Mount Pleasant. She has done a tremendous job with our Senior Center and has the power to brighten the day of anyone she meets. Kathy, thank you for your 25 years of service you have given the town. We are fortunate to have you with us.
Yeah.
Do you want to grab her for the picture real quick? Kathy, come back, you got a picture. Stand up for it.
Come on up, please. How are you? Mayor Haney, members of council, it is my pleasure to recognize Marvin Green for 30 years of service with the town of Mount Pleasant. Marvin started his career at the town in 1991 as a laborer in our Facilities and Grounds Division and held that position for 6 years. In 1997, he was promoted to crew leader and later transitioned to a grounds and events specialist within the Grounds Division. Marvin has always been a reliable and dependable employee and has been recognized by residents and town officials for his hard work and for being an example for other employees. There isn't a major event that has taken place within the town in the last 30 years that Marvin hasn't supported, to include all the town's special events such as the Christmas Parade and Market, movies and music in the park, Blessing of the Fleet, Children's Day, the Farmers Market, the Cooper River Bridge Run, and then the town responses to hurricanes and other storms. Even though Mount Pleasant has seen tremendous growth during his time here, Marvin has always displayed excellence and a high standard of service, and he continues to take on each new challenge with professionalism and a positive attitude. Marvin, it's been an honor working with you. Thank you for everything you have done and will continue to do. Congratulations on 30 years with the town.
Chief?
Captain, please come forward. Good evening, Mayor and council members. Tonight I have the privilege and honor of recognizing Captain Pat Carter for 25 years of service. Captain Carter joined the police department in September of 1996, and as is the case with all of our officers, he began his career in the field and patrol. As a young officer, he had a passion for protecting the motoring public, and he became a traffic officer in 1998. To this day, he is still committed to keeping the motorists safe. He is the coordinator of the 9th Circuit Law Enforcement Network for South Carolina Office of Highway Safety. Under his leadership, the 9th Circuit has received numerous awards and recognition. Captain Carter's second passion is learning and teaching. In 2003, he became a field training officer, and he has not stopped training new officers and providing in-service training for our current officers. He holds 9 different instructorships. He's currently working on completing his master's degree in criminal justice, so a lifelong learner and teacher, so thank you for that. In 2004, he was promoted to corporal, and 2 short years later, he was promoted to sergeant. He's a 2-time recipient of the Supervisor of the Year Award for the Police Department. In 2014, he was promoted to lieutenant. And over the next 5 years, he served in the Office of Professional Standards, the Traffic Unit, and the Patrol Unit in the supervisory capacity. In 2019, he was promoted to his current rank of captain. Captain Carter's experience and training has given him an unparalleled ability in the area of field operations, particularly in managing and leading special events of all sizes. I don't think there's a single special event that's gone on in the last 20 years, 25 years that you have not worked and led, so thank you for that. His dedication and service above self makes him a role model for all of our officers to follow. Pat, on behalf of the citizens of Mount Pleasant, I thank you for 25 years of service and look forward to many more.
Thank you, sir.
Carrie. Mayor and council members, it is my honor and privilege to recognize Carrie Foy for 35 years of service. Ms. Foy began working in the town of Mount Pleasant in 1983 as an administrative assistant in the Recreation Department. In 1985, she took a position as a secretary for public services and planning. Apparently, those departments were one and the same at that time. In 1986, she transferred to the HR department and worked as the first administrative assistant to the first HR manager. In the fall of 1987, Carrie left the town to pursue a job at the Charleston Naval Shipyard. After a couple years, she was given orders to relocate to Georgia, but the Low Country had become home, so she found her way back to the Mount Pleasant Police Department, working in the police department where she's been since 1990. Carrie started as a receptionist, and she's worked as an administrative assistant in investigations. In 1993, she accepted a position as a records clerk, and after 10 years in that position, the records unit was expanded to a 24-hour-day operation, and she was quickly selected as the supervisor and has adapted very quickly to that new leadership role. She has a positive can-do attitude and develops a sense of service in her direct reports. When I was a sergeant, I had an opportunity to work directly with Carrie in the records unit. Although I was technically her supervisor, I learned a great deal from her about teamwork and the importance of listening to your employees. Thank you for that, Carrie. Carrie is the longest-serving member of the Mount Pleasant Police Department. She has served under 8 mayors, 5 chiefs of police, and numerous council members. She is truly part of the foundation of the police department as we know it today. Carrie, on behalf of the citizens of Mount Pleasant and everyone here tonight, thank you for 35 years of exceptional service.
I think we skipped anybody. Wonderful. Thank you all for your service to the town. It's just a tribute to your character and to the ethos of this town that people stay here so long. So that's wonderful. Item number 5 is approval of the minutes from the August 10th Town Council meeting and the July 2021 financial statement.
Move for approval.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the minutes are approved. Item 6 is public comment. When your name is called, please come forward to the lectern. You'll be given 2 minutes. We have a timer. Please give us your name and address. Thank you very much.
First speaker, Cashin Drolet.
Cashin Drolet, Historic Charleston Foundation, 40 East Bay Street. Mr. Chairman, members of council, On behalf of HCF, I respectfully urge you to reject the annexation proposals on tonight's agenda affecting the Phillips community, items 8B1 and B2. As you know, Charleston County Council recently designated Phillips as a county historic district, binding these parcels together as the original settlers of Phillips intended. Within 15 years of being freed from enslavement, the settlers of Phillips had either purchased lands or were on the path to do so. They passed these lands down generationally, such that 85% of the lots within present-day Phillips are held by descendants of the original settlers, and the current tax maps nearly match the 1875 and 1885 original plats, which is nothing short of remarkable. These parcels should remain together as a historic district to honor that story. Importantly, this historic district designation also provides an additional layer of review by the county's Historic Preservation Commission to ensure that development of these parcels is done in a manner that will ensure the historic integrity of the Phillips community at large. Despite having a similar settlement community zoning category as the county, the historic district designation protections do not currently exist in the town of Mount Pleasant, and HCF believes the historic integrity of the community is better protected by remaining in the county's Historic Preservation Commission's jurisdiction. Thank you for the opportunity to address council this evening. Respectfully, I urge council at the appropriate time to vote no on annexation.
Angela Pike.
Thank you for allowing me to come and speak with you this evening. I do not have any sort of social media, but I was sent a message from a page called Friend of Mount Pleasant on August 24th, in which Mayor Haney had a conversation with someone who I'm just going to call MMG. Haney to MMG. Please come speak at the council meeting Tuesday night. No one spoke in favor of masks yesterday. It didn't occur to most that council would let that ordinance expire. We need to hear from medical professionals like you. Thank you. MMG back to Will Haney. Thank you for all you do. I will be there. Will Haney back to MMG. Wear your scrubs for effect! Exclamation point. Thank you for serving on the front lines. I hope that y'all can see I'm wearing my scrubs tonight, but they're not for effect. I, too, work on the front lines and have 23 years of medical experience calling on hospitals, physicians, PAs all across the state of South Carolina and into Georgia. I have been on the front lines ever since COVID started. As a matter of fact, my company can't keep me from being on the front lines. So I want to read something to you very quickly. The COVID pandemic has brought tremendous physical, economic, social, and psychological damage to our nation and our community. The politicalization of science and medicine has torn us apart from our people. Here is the fact that we cannot refute. Unlike polio and smallpox viruses, which are only transmitted among humans, the COVID virus has animal repositories that cannot be eradicated by vaccine or face masks. SARS-CoV-2, just like viruses that cause the flu, is here to stay whether we like it or not. Similar to flu season, COVID-19 will constantly change and mutate with new variants now and will emerge in the future. The debate should now move on from efficacy of face masks and vaccines to how society can learn to coexist with the virus. It does not need bravado or callousness. I hope that my words and the information I share with you is more important than the scrubs that I'm wearing on my body this evening. Thank you very much for your time.
John Evans.
John Cecil Evans, 15 Vincent Drive here in Mount Pleasant. Mr. Mayor, distinguished council, first I want to open up with a disclaimer. Everything I'm about to say is my opinion and my beliefs. No one else. The town or the mayor has nothing in this. Second of all, I want to apologize ahead of time for some words that I may use, and I don't think they're curse words, but you know, different people have different opinions. Tonight, I'll get one question. Just where the hell is North Mount Pleasant? I've been here 73 years in Mount Pleasant. I retired from the post office. We had 3 zip codes, 64, 65, and 66. But every letter that came in was Mount Pleasant, South Carolina. Now, I'm assuming, and you know what assume does, that the line in the 6-6 area, which is the Isle of Palms connector, and then up the Long Point Road that goes there. Everything above that is 6-6. I'm assuming that's North Mount Pleasant. Well, you know, if you're not happy with where you came from, then maybe you don't belong here. You know, I'm sorry, but 1680 this town was founded, and we've been doing pretty good since then. So the road you came in on goes back the other way, and if you're not happy, bye, you know, we have no Mount Pleasant. And also there's a magazine coming out now, North Mount Pleasant. Really? Who authorized this in the publishing company? Maybe I need to go talk with him. And maybe he's from North Mount Pleasant. Anyway, thank you so much, and think about it. We got enough divisiveness in this country now without having to split the names of a town. Thank you.
Brandon Armstrong.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brandon Armstrong. I'm running for the mayor of Mount Pleasant. Respectfully, Mayor Haney, City Council, I have quite a few disagreements with you, and that's why I'm running for mayor. When I hear that we have to have a permit or there's going to be an ordinance, if people are upset, and if 25 more people or more come, we have to have some type of ordinance that you've got to have a permit. This is a highly political charged moment in the United States, and it has been for multiple years. I don't see that getting any more calmer, unfortunately. By forcing people unconstitutionally to get this permit, what if more than 25 people, say 500 people, they're really PO'd, and it's not 1 to 5 days, as your ordinance says. Maybe I'm busy working painting a house, and I don't get that information to the 8th day. If I decide to join or we all decide to go ahead and protest, we have to wait. You're gonna make Mount Pleasant Police Department, shut them down? You'll give Mount Police Department a black eye. And in this charged environment of defund police, that is not where we wanna go. They do an outstanding job. I'm disagreeing with that. That's tyranny. And you're taking away our First Amendment right to free assembly. Will next be, you know, you want us to take, and everybody, I think North Charleston mayor's having you take a jab. You know what? And then we're wearing masks. You all see this? I paint houses, $2 million houses, when they told me I could not paint houses as a female 30 years ago. I don't lay down very easy. See how white this is? This is 2,000 times bigger than any virus. White drywall dust comes through my lungs. I'm hacking it up 2 days later. Are you gonna suggest our kids walk to school with this? The mask isn't doing a blooming, bloody thing. This is tyranny, Mayor Haney. How many more things? Are you gonna make our police take a jab next? The firemen? So with all due respect, enough of this. We have this thing, and this is it, I'll finish up. It's called the Constitution of the United States. In 1964, New York versus Sullivan said, no city councilman, mayor, governor, no one is above this Constitution. Taking and inhibiting and encroaching on our freedoms for free assembly, I'm not buying it. No more lockdowns either. Thank you.
Richard Habersham.
That's all I have to say.
This is the first one. This is Phillips. Gonna be a fun fall. Or is it this one? This other one back here.
Gonna be fun.
Good evening, y'all. My name is Richard Habersham at 2938 Bennett Charles Road in the Phillips community. I'm here to talk about 3 items tonight. Item 1 in new business, item 1 and 2 in old business, and all this, you know, go together. Phillips had we have changed our historic designation from the county. We also then applied to the state by historic designation, and the goal is to get on the national register. And the only thing we got to offer is 2 things: the land pattern of the community and the community culture. And on the culture part, you know, you got 2 of your founding fathers was born in Philip. You had a former first lady that was born in Philip. You have lately you have a gentleman that was the liaison officer for the Secretary of State, Madeleine Albright, and also he was on Governor Nikki Haley cabinet. All these people was born right here in Phillip. And we're not trying to stop nobody from developing property, but we do want control, we do want, when the development comes in, it'll come in as the community. And for going on the national register, we don't want to piecemeal nothing. We want Phillip to go in as a community like it is. You know, when you start piecemealing and taking away bits and pieces from the community, it's diminished our community and to go on this national register. The register is not just going to benefit Phillip. My thinking is going to benefit Mount Pleasant and Charleston County. Maybe later on, it may be a tourist attraction. And, you know, we don't have the motel. Mount Pleasant has the motel, so when it comes in, it's going to come in as Mount Pleasant. And we also have been talking to the developers on this, you know, and our thing is that
Sorry.
I'm sorry.
Thank you.
Fred Smalls.
Fred Smalls, 2959 Elijah Smalls Road, Phillips Community. And I'd like to speak in reference to the annexation of properties in our community into the town of Mount Pleasant. The Phillips community is in a unique situation. Right now, we are the first and only African-American community to be recognized or designated as a historical district. But once again, we are again threatened by encroachment and annexation into the town of Mount Pleasant. We are not or have been opposed to anyone buying or selling property in our community. But of late, individuals who purchase property in our community purchase property with the sole intent of monetary gains or to develop and sell. We, the residents of the community, our stakes in our community is not based on monetary value. It is simply the love of our community, the respect and dignity of our heritage, and protecting our quality of life. The individuals who purchase property in our community, they have no desire to live there. It's strictly monetary gains. So we oppose any annexation of any properties in our community. And we're asking this council to listen and respect the will of our community and reject the annexation of any properties in our community.
Clay Duffy.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of council. My name is Clay Duffy. I live at 530 Reed Street. And I'm here to let you know that my wife and I and my family are extremely grateful for having the town government that knows how to work with its citizens. We have heard from our fellow citizens that use the Patty Spikes field for recreation on a daily basis, and they also express their same gratitude for y'all working with us. Mayor Haney, Councilmember Santos, Councilmember Landy, and Town Administrator Extraordinaire, Mr. DeMora, all have listened to the concerns of our community and have found an alternate source for the laydown area for the Royal Street Drainage Project. I also like to thank staff for working with the Town Administrator and Council and coming up with an alternative plan which will provide for safety and security for the children at the Military Academy, and also for the wonderful job that they do in maintaining the Patty Spikes ball field. Thank you.
Thank you.
Colin Colbert.
My name is Colin Colbert, and our company has submitted plans for the Mill Street Boutique Hotel. I'm speaking tonight in regards to item number 7, removing boutique hotel use from neighborhood commercial zoning districts. Throughout the last 10 years of conducting development locally, we have always worked openly and honestly with municipalities and town staff. and trusted that the planning process maintains its integrity throughout our entitlement work. Our company has been working with town staff for the last 12 months to compile a complete set of plans for a boutique hotel that meets all zoning requirements, as well as gain the town's recommendation for DRB approval. I want to clarify a few items that were stated incorrectly in previous meetings. Number one, the 2019 comprehensive plan continues to permit boutique hotel and neighborhood commercial zoning. In fact, our lot's been zoned for hotel use since the 1980s, and this prevailed in the 2014 zoning changes as well as the 2019 comprehensive plan. Number two, our project's not located in the Shem Creek Waterfront Overlay District. It's not subject to any of those zoning changes. And number three, our project will not remove any grand trees, destroy any wetlands, and it won't impact any residential neighborhoods surrounded by all commercial properties. Additionally, it will not contribute to the messy parking situation that surrounds the project. The proposed zoning changes before you today is a direct reaction to our project. It represents a reactive way to conduct planning. If passed in this manner, it will jeopardize the integrity of the entire Mount Pleasant planning process. I encourage you to not let this ordinance obtain a first reading, and at a minimum, follow the proper procedures and send it back to Planning Commission for a public hearing. Thank you.
Joe Blake? Okay, Joe Blake, going twice. All right, McKenna Joyce?
Good evening. My name is McKenna Joyce. I work for McCullicon and Appel. I'm here tonight representing our client CKC Properties LLC, the developer of the Mill Street Boutique Hotel. I'm speaking on behalf of Ross Appel, who can't make it because of the City of Charleston Council meeting tonight. We strongly oppose ordinance number 21071. This ordinance would, among other things, eliminate boutique hotel as a by right use in the neighborhood commercial district. To start, this ordinance is not legally before Town Council tonight. A copy of the ordinance itself was not made public 24 hours in advance of the meeting as required by FOIA. As such, any consideration of this agenda item this evening will be in violation of state law. We request it be struck from the record and agenda. If the ordinance stays on the agenda, we request the town not grant first reading. We're concerned the town will use this first reading to invoke the pending ordinance doctrine and halt permitting of our project. If the town were to do this, consequences would be severe. The Shem Creek Boutique Hotel has been under review by the town since November 2020. Staff is certified it complies with all zoning regulations, including but not limited to use and parking. Moreover, the 2019 comprehensive plan supports boutique hotels in the neighborhood commercial district. The project is also vested under the South Carolina Vested Rights Act and the town's Vested Rights Ordinance. Over the last several years, the town has taken unlawful action to stymie developments deemed controversial by some groups. These efforts often fail, and town taxpayers pay the price, both in terms of legal fees and damages awards. The market value of the Shem Creek, or the Mill Creek Boutique Hotel, is approximately $30 million. Our clients have already incurred hundreds of thousands of dollars in development expenses to date. The exposure to the town and its taxpayers is enormous. Please do not make the same mistake tonight. Ordinance number 21071 should be taken off tonight's agenda due to the FOIA violation. May I finish some comments?
Very briefly, please.
Alternatively, we ask that you deny first reading so the proper rezoning process can be followed. Finally, we request you add language clarifying that any changes will apply only prospectively and not to the Mill Street Boutique Hotel. Thank you.
Lee Dietrich?
Good evening, Council, Mayor. Lee Dietrich, 2755 Summertime Lane. There does not seem to be a sense of urgency relative to the public safety crisis right now in Mount Pleasant regarding the pay and labor practices of our police and firefighters. We continue to watch experienced personnel resign from employment to pursue opportunities, many of which are with the same profession, but in just different jurisdictions. Besides those that have already left, I can reassure you and the command staffs of the police and fire departments that others have the intent to leave. We just can't continue to allow this to happen. The cost of recruiting, investigating, hiring, and training these employees comes with significant costs to the taxpayers. Besides the financial cost, one cannot assign a value to the experience of a first responder and how that experience can be the difference between life and death when handling a crisis incident. We are jeopardizing the safety of our residents by the dwindling numbers of these first responders. On 9/11, I am sure that many of our local leaders posted tributes on their social media pages and gave speeches in recognition of those lost on 9/11. You cannot be pro-first responder on one day a year and ignore them on the other 364 days a year. 2% pay increases do not even amount to $3 per shift. I've used the comparison of fast food wages in the past, and unfortunately, this comparison remains true today. The fact that this dilemma continues today is a blemish on this council. It should be noted that the members of the police and fire departments have been discouraged from attending tonight's meeting for the sake of public appearance and to prevent any negative perceptions. Let's stop pretending that we don't have a major problem here. We reward their efforts and dedication and sacrifices with pennies. Who would want to work for an employer like that? We want our first responders to be professionals, but we also have to pay them and treat them like professionals. We have an opportunity right now to address this crisis before we have a real problem on our hands that may have tragic consequences. Thank you.
Kevin Cunane.
First, I want to thank the police chief and fire chief for the members showing up on 9/11 to the commemorations. Thank you. We often hear the words "never forget" when speaking of 9/11. To those who truly understand, those are more than just words. On the political side, sadly, a majority of this council does not understand the importance of the ethos of never forget. The majority of you have forgotten. I know this because when I write letters to council bringing serious public safety-related issues to your attention, including the 5 fire deaths in recent years, most of you couldn't be bothered to even reply. Not to worry, your failure is being cataloged, and the public safety supporting majority of this town know who does and who does not support police and firefighters. Perhaps the most disgusting thing I saw this year, around the somber anniversary of 9/11, was a video released by Will Haney. In it, he heaps praise and false support on first responders. We know he not only voted against supporting statewide firefighter cancer bill, he was outright hostile towards it. This occurred at the April 19th, 2019 council meeting. It is at the 2:34 mark on the official video. Shame on you, Haney. You're a despicable human being. How dare you use 9/11 for your failing campaign? How dare you? With regard to FD and PD, Mount Pleasant is in a crisis. We had a day on August 16th where just 2 police officers were on patrol in our town of 90,000 residents, 58 square miles. The FD is facing a mass exodus of firefighters. There's been a steady stream of departures, and coverage and protection is affected daily. It's long past time the priorities of the town shift where they belong and where the residents want them, with public safety first. By the way, we're aware of various attempts to discourage meeting attendance by first responders. This is both disgraceful and unconstitutional. I have a letter from the fire chief which says, as discussed at the station visits, it is my sincerest belief that attendance at upcoming meetings will not only hurt our progress, this is not our best play. As your chief, I am asking for your trust and good faith with this request. That's not a good faith request, chief, and whoever told you to do it, maybe it was Mr. DeMora, that's not a good faith, that's not how you treat first responders. We'll be up here with thousands if we need to be. That's disgraceful, threatening them not to come to the meeting. How dare you?
Radwan Halaba.
Good evening. My name is Radwan Halaba, 32.5 Chapel Street, Mayor and Town Council members. I'm here as the owner of the 1-acre tract at the intersection of Highway 17 and McKnight, and I'm here to request the rezoning from office professional to area-wide business consistent with the intended long-term land planning of Mount Pleasant and the comprehensive plan, and similar to the property immediately adjacent to me as well as several across from me on Highway 17. Thank you.
Roger Odachowski.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and town council members. My name is Roger Odehowski. I'm the president of the Professional Firefighters of South Carolina and also the International Association of Firefighters 12th District Representative. I'll talk real fast, so I'll have to read off this. Normally I shoot it off the hip. But I do not live in the area, but traveled 5 hours because it has come to my attention 2 problems and issues. One is firefighters' pay and the pay studies the town has paid for, and the second is the attempt to intimidate both firefighters and police officers that proudly serve this town. I've asked our associations to do a statewide pay study along with breakdowns and comparisons of each municipalities. This was completed in June of this year, and I will be more than happy to share it with you and anyone else that would like one. The second is I don't understand that a open to the public meeting or event in Mount Pleasant is not really open to the public for off-duty police and firefighters. Public safety employees are truly dedicated to the aspects or all aspects of their jobs and its community. At council meetings, this is the best time for them to see and learn those things, and I hope that this was just a misunderstanding and any and all future council meetings of off-duty public safety brothers and sisters will be in attendance. And if not, the 874 retired IFF members and FOP retired police officers in surrounding areas will have to come to get the information for them. What? Oh, sorry, I thought somebody said something. But that's all I got. Wow, I did pretty good. But thank you for your time.
Alvin Johnson.
Good afternoon, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. My name is Alvin Johnson, 2851 Merriam's Drive. I am the Director of Due Diligence and Entitlements for Levi Grantham Land Group. We are the applicant for items B1 and B2, the request for annexation into the town of Mount Pleasant. I just wanted to make it known that we are not in favor of being annexed into the town. And it's my hope that once you come to voting on those 2 items, that you vote to deny annexation. At the end of the day, this is kind of personal for me. At the end of the day, I just feel like this is an opportunity to do right by the folks of Phillips. When Mr. Habersham spoke at Charleston County Council a couple of weeks ago, he spoke about the character of the community. And I feel as if the historical designation and the commission that Charleston County set up will allow them to have a voice in that process while working with us. So like I said, hopefully, once those 2 items come up for vote, that you guys vote to deny annexation. Thank you.
That's all I have signed up, sir.
Thank you. If there's no one else, we will move to the next item on the agenda. Item number 7 is consent agenda items. Do we have a motion to approve?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve. Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor of approval of item 7, consent agenda items A, B, and C, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, they are approved unanimously.
And that's final reading of consent agenda items A, B, and C.
Item 8, planning new business. Hello, Ms. Reed, thank you.
Good evening, Mayor, members of council. This request before you is an annexation providing for approximately 1.93 acres located at 1605 Highway 41. It is recommended for settlement community land uses. If it is annexed into the town, it would be given the automatic zoning designation of community conservation, and there is currently a single-family residence on the parcel. As you can see here, it is off of 41, right across from where Joe Rouse ends into Highway 41. Here's the zoning map, and this next map shows you that it is contiguous across the water to Rivertown.
Mr. Mayor, I'd like to make a motion, we deny items 1 and 2.
We have a motion to deny. Do we have a second? We need a second.
Separate?
This is only annexation.
Yes, sir.
They are
If
two
anyone-
separate items.
If any one council member would like to separate them, that would be
Can we?
recommended.
Yeah, I'd like, okay, we can separate them, sure. Okay.
All right, so what's the motion on?
Make a motion that we deny item 1.
All right, so just so we're legal, help me understand which one we're doing.
Sir, as I understand it, there is a motion to deny item number 1, which is the annexation
Yes.
ordinance number 21.
But we're not dividing anything on this property. You're just saying that the
Denying.
motion is only on item number 1. This isn't the 2.
Right.
Yes, sir.
Got it. Okay.
This was-
So
this
this would
was-
be all of item A1.
Was the part of the Phillips community, correct?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so we have a motion to deny. Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a second on the motion to deny. We are in discussion. Anyone? Mr. Santos?
Mr. Mayor, I just, after listening to the folks of the Phillips community and seeing what Charleston County has done, I just feel like it's important that we listen to the community and deny this request.
Yes, sir. Mr. O'Rourke?
I have a couple thoughts on that. And I'm not, so I'm just asking, but the developer stood up and said that they do not want to be annexed in. Who applied for annexation to the town then?
This isn't the development tract.
It's
It's a different tract.
It's a different track?
Yes.
Oh, okay. Well, when you mentioned talking listening to the people, no, I thought it was the same track. Okay, I'll save all my crazy comments for a little later.
Were you raising your hand? Oh, somebody was scratching their ear. Anyone else to be recognized? Yes, ma'am.
Thank you. I have a question because we know the property that was being referred to was the property behind Covington, and this is a completely different piece of land. And not only that, the Planning Committee recommended approval on this one. So can we hear from the Planning Committee as to why they're recommending approval? Because I'm thinking this is not necessarily affected in the same way as the other.
If I may, Ms. Landing, it is within that historic district, and the Planning Committee recommended approval because we had not gotten this information at that time. I did send an email out earlier explaining that.
I saw that.
And so that has transpired between the committee meeting and tonight. So it is actually separate and distinct from the 2 parcels that are coming later on that were deferred last month, but it does lie within as you can see from the map, it does lie within the recently adopted Charleston County Historic District overlay.
Anyone else? All right, we have the motion before us is to deny. All in favor of the motion to deny, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion is denied unanimously.
Okay, this next one is an annexation for .73 acres located off of David Green Road. This is not in the Phillips Community Overlay, just
Motion
for
to approve.
clarification.
Second.
We have a motion to approve in a second, and again, for everyone watching, this is only an annexation. This is not a zoning. We have a motion to approve in a second. Any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion is approved.
First reading ordinance number 21066.
And Mr. Mayor and Council, this next item is the presentation on the Shem Creek Waterfront District. And Mr. Tyson Smith with White and Smith Law Firm is going to present this, and so I'll hand it over to him.
Thank you. Tyson, welcome. Thank you for your work on all this.
Nice to be here. Thank you very much. I've been working with a number of you over the last few months on this project. For those of you who I haven't met, it's Tyson Smith. I'm a co-owner of White and Smith Planning Law Group. We're a national planning firm and land use law firm, happen to be located in downtown Charleston, and we've been hired to do a number of amendments to the zoning or land use codes here in Mount Pleasant. Shem Creek, for understandable reasons, was one of the projects that was prioritized, so we've been working with staff since the beginning of the year and some of your committees and your commission to get this before you tonight for first reading. You'll recall that the Shem Creek Area Management Plan was adopted in July of 2019. The Planning and Development Committee first took up this ordinance in July on the 6th of this year. Planning Commission reviewed the proposed ordinance on July 21st, recommended approval, and then we went back before they recommended approval on August 18th when they took it back up, and the Planning and Development Committee considered the item again on September 7th, and that puts us to where we are today. Want to make a few points. There's a lot in the ordinance. The final ordinances will be codified. If they're not highlighted in yellow in the document that's attached to the adopting ordinance, you can assume that any other section of the zoning ordinance or subdivision code, land development regulations are not proposed for change. Our objectives when we took on the original drafting process were basically to preserve the character and history of the creek. We wanted to make sure we respected the existing zoning and existing uses while also implementing the area management plan. And in most cases, there was no conflict there, and some we had to resolve conflicts, and we'll get to some of those here in a minute tonight. I'd also like to remind you that the area management plan included zoning recommendations, but also non-zoning recommendations. There's some things in that plan that can't be addressed through zoning, and there's some that fall sort of in the middle, and we'll touch on some of that tonight. All problems can't be solved, all challenges won't be solved through the zoning, but I want to touch on parking in particular tonight. The plan recommended that there be 3 separate districts along the creek. One was referred to in the plan as restaurants and commercial, and then that's sort of the middle part there near the bridge, offices and natural features, the portion landward of the bridge, and then the working waterfront near the mouth of the creek. And those were separated in 3 different base districts that we've created and named, as you see here on the screen. Each of them is a Shem Creek Waterfront District, and there's Working District, you can see that in purple, Hospitality District there in the middle is green, and the Natural District there in blue. So those are 3 distinct base zoning districts. The adoption of these would result in the repeal or include the repeal of the existing Waterfront Overlay District, which is not very in-depth right now. It basically adopts underlying zoning with the exclusion of the use of, or the rental of personal watercraft. More on that in a second. And this, of course, would also include official zoning map amendment. So I mentioned earlier that there are a number of sections in the code that are not changing. One of the significant ones is the non-conforming uses and structure section, 156, 140. That's a new section that you all adopted in March of this year. So those provisions would apply to any nonconformities created by the adoption of these ordinances. Our objective when we drafted this was to limit the creation of any nonconformities. So that's our objective, and we'll touch on some of those details here in a minute. There also are some design guidelines that staff is working up to bring before the Planning Commission in a couple of weeks that would apply specifically to Shem Creek. So we'll touch briefly on those tonight. So getting into the revisions, there are a number of new definitions. Personal watercraft was one of those not defined in the code now. We added a definition for that. And then there are a handful of other definitions that were added or revised. There are also some new conditional use conditions, one being that parking lots can't be more than 10% impervious surface, so that's consistent with what you see in Shem Creek now, the shell, the gravel, parking surfaces for the most part. We also drew some distinctions between the types of boat launches and docks that are allowed between the 3 districts. Right now, there's just sort of a commonly applicable requirement there. And then we also added some additional parking demand being captured that was recommended in the plan. And let me touch on that now. This is an area that we've spent a good deal of discussion time with both the committee and the Planning Commission. This excerpt here is from the area management plan. And basically the objective here was to recognize, or I think the concern was trying to recognize that there's a lack of parking in the area in general. And some of this is resulting in spillover into Old Village neighborhoods, et cetera. So this is what the plan proposed, is that there be an increase in parking required, the minimum parking required for restaurants. I've stricken out a part here that was in the plan because bars and lounges are not allowed anywhere in the zoning we've proposed. So in terms of restaurants, your current requirements are that a minimum of 1 space per 100 square feet be required and a maximum of 2 spaces per 100 square feet. The only thing the plan did was increase that minimum to 1.25. So not a big increase, but it recommended increasing that slightly to capture that demand being created by any new restaurant space. In addition, the plan recognized that there are a number of uses for which no parking demand is being captured. And that is for certain kayaking, outfitters, and excursion type of uses that include boats and vessels that are parked on the property and that people come to Shem Creek to use, but aren't captured in the parking calculation because they're not involving new square footage. This is not an uncommon thing to capture in waterfront communities like Mount Pleasant, and they in fact recommended that that be captured. You'll see here one of those non-zoning features that we have included in here, and that is that this parking doesn't have to be required on site, it doesn't have to be provided on site if the property owner provides shuttling services from outside of Shem Creek into the property. So that's what we've provided for in the code at this point. So I mentioned other non-zoning issues related to parking. The recommendation of the Planning Commission was that these be taken up, but not as part of this process. But I just wanted to create a slide here with some of the points that we know are being discussed related to Shem Creek, so you know we haven't forgotten them. It's just that the Planning Commission, and I think our firm and our staff believes that this is a wise thing to do. Lack of available parking to mitigate existing uses, but also limited space to expand uses. Sort of a conflicting challenge there, but that's there. Conversion of required parking to paid parking, not part of what we're addressing in zoning tonight, even though it's been a point of discussion lately. Neighborhood impacts as parking demand increases. I mentioned the impacts on the old village a little bit earlier. Capturing full parking demand for all uses. We've addressed that a bit tonight. And then exploring whether certain things related to parking would be effective, like shared parking or allowing a property owner to come forward with an individualized demand study to say, you typically require this, but my use is a little bit different, and let me show you why there won't be as many cars, for example, coming. So those are things I think should be explored perhaps in the zoning code rewrite, but are not addressed in the current ordinance. Okay, there are a couple of districts who, there are a couple of properties that are being proposed to be removed from the Boulevard District. Those are those circled here. They're really the front part of those properties on the creek side of Mill Street. That's being proposed as they are more oriented toward the creek. We also are proposing that all the districts in the Shem Creek, among the Shem Creek districts, be added to the Commercial Design Review Overlay District. And that would include the Shem Creek specific standards that I mentioned earlier. Maximum height would remain at 40 feet throughout. That was a recommendation of the Planning Commission, that it stay at 40 feet. There are two properties that are current, and that's where every property is in Shem Creek now, except for the two that were in, or the several rather, there that were in the Boulevard Overlay. So taking them out of the Boulevard Overlay would reduce their allowable height from 45 feet to 40 feet. Buffer and critical line setbacks have been revised to be specific to the creek, and I'll talk about that briefly here. Right now, the shoreline setback is proposed to be a minimum of the greater of 10 feet from the critical line or 15 feet from the property line. So that would be that area here. So any building would have to be at least 10 to 15 feet from those 2 points, basically the creek. Now in that area, some uses are allowed, and they're what you might anticipate. Pedestrian paths, outdoor dining, balconies, steps, open shade structures, or any structure needed to provide access to a second story or adjacent property. What you couldn't do in the setback is add retail, outdoor displays, or any other uses that don't facilitate interconnectivity along the creek. We also want to keep a level of activity near the creek, so we don't have a long distance from the creek to the building and its land uses. So there's a maximum setback from the minimum setback line of 15 feet, and that's that part right there. So the building couldn't be set back more than that there. So you're going to see buildings anywhere from 10 to 15 feet up to, 30 feet from basically the line of what we perceive to be the creek. So these images and all these recommendations come straight from the plan. And then for each district, we've laid out a series of recommendations in terms of what uses and structures are allowed. We've broken down the allowable uses according to your framework that you have now, by right uses, conditional uses, special exceptions, and accessory uses, some of which are conditional. So you'll see that included for each district in the ordinance. 2 points of discussion. The Planning Commission recommended that boutique hotels or inns not be allowed within the hospitality district. That's that green district there, that central sort of district of the creek. This was after a series of discussion. And right now, they're not currently allowed, although hotels and short-term rentals are currently allowed. they would not be allowed under the proposed zoning. So that's what's been given to you tonight. That's not a change. Also, restaurants were originally proposed to be included in the working district, and at the recommendation of the committee at our last meeting, that was removed. The idea there being, even though there's a restaurant in that area, that if restaurant use was opened up for that area, that restaurants may take over that area, and one of the main objectives of the plan, of course, was to maintain that working waterfront availability on the creek. So point those two out for a point of discussion if we need to. I'm getting close. As I said, there's some architectural standards that are being developed by staff. These will be specific to Shem Creek, and they'll be lagging just one meeting behind the zoning regulations, and we'll go over that schedule here in a minute. Some of those are design review standards. I won't go through each of these. If you have a question, let me know. Feel free to stop me. But one of the most significant ones is that we will designate Shem Creek as the primary street. So that will be considered the frontage of the properties that are fronting on the creek as opposed to the part that's on the road, which is normally the standard. And then finally, that last point I think is worth mentioning. Any elevated structures, there'll be design standards to try to to the extent possible, give them the appearance of having a ground floor. We've got a lot of good examples here in Mount Pleasant and in downtown Charleston along those lines. And then there's some site-specific standards that would be applied. Stand-up curbing won't be required. That's the very sort of tall curbing. Diamond-shaped parking islands with sable palms will be required. Native vegetation required. Perimeter buffers are all that will be required, so we don't have buffers going between all the properties because we want to keep that continuity of flow. And then we'll be encouraging bike racks and raised planters as well. And before I go through the plan process, shall I stop and pause for questions or just wrap up?
Just
Okay.
wrap up.
All right, so the plan from this point would be at the September 22nd meeting in the Planning Commission, there'll be a public hearing on the design guidelines. We'll be back before the committee on October 4th with those design guidelines, and then back before you on October 12th for the second reading of the zoning changes, the first reading of the design guidelines, and you'd have those for second reading then on November 9th. Just so you know, and anyone watching tonight, if you have any comments on what we hear tonight, Liz Boyles is the staff planner who's the point of contact on this, and she and I coordinate constantly, and we'll do so if we hear anything from you or the public on that. And with that, I'll
All right.
take any questions.
Thank you, Tyson. We will open it for questions. Let me remind everyone, this is first reading, so there are no amendments, and that the Planning Committee, if I may speak on your behalf, voted unanimously to approve first reading of this. All right, do we have a motion? Would you like to make the motion, Ms. Whitley?
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve in a second. We're in discussion. All in favor of the motion to approve? Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, ma'am.
Can we get an explanation again on the part about how this relates to the boutique hotels and so forth? I mean, that's a later ordinance, but this, you just specifically mentioned that.
That's right. As one of your speakers pointed out earlier, the property or the amendment before you later does not affect the Shem Creek districts. This is a separate one. Originally, in our staff review drafts, the first draft that went before the committee, we had included allowing boutique inns in this section, basically to reflect that existing use that's there now. But the thought of the Planning Commission, of the committee as we move forward, was that more hotels were not what was desired for Shem Creek. And that's not inconsistent with the plan at all. So the idea was to take that out. Boutique hotels are not allowed today. So this doesn't necessarily take anything away that was there before in terms of boutique hotels. What is allowed today, and that is the Marine District, that is the Marine District zoning, by the way. What is allowed in MD right now are hotels and short-term rentals. They also would not be allowed under the current proposed zoning. So the current proposed zoning would prohibit boutique hotels, which I think are 50 rooms or more. Is that right? 50 rooms or fewer, rather.
Fewer.
And then also short-term rentals and hotels, all would be included in the green district here, that commercial area.
Ms. Landing, are you finished? You still have the floor?
There's an awful lot of material here. We've looked through it. We've gotten some different information. I'm a little uncomfortable with something that has so much scope to it, but you've done a lot of work, so we'll take a look at it. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Rambo?
Just one quick question.
Yes.
Is this an overlay? Like, is there still the underlying zoning and then now this is a new overlay? Or does this replace the underlying zoning completely?
This replaces the underlying zoning.
Okay.
So what we did is we developed these categories, well, this is as good as any, was to try to incorporate what's in underlying zoning for each of these properties, and then also reflect what's in the area management plan. In most cases, that was consistent. As I said, I've pointed out the two tonight that were notably different. That's the restaurant and the potentially the hotel, boutique hotel.
Okay, and then those properties still have protection under our nonconformity?
Correct.
Okay.
That is correct.
All right. Okay.
Anyone else? All right, the motion is to approve. First reading, all in favor, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right, motion passes unanimously.
First reading, ordinance number 21067.
Item number 4 has to do with Ion subdivision.
Move to deny.
Second.
We have a motion to deny. We have 2 motions to deny, but one will be a motion and one will be a second. We're in discussion. Anyone? All right. All in favor of the motion to deny, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? All right. The motion to deny passes.
Okay. This next one is an ordinance to amend the building permit allocation system. As you're all aware, it was originally adopted in January of 2019, and the intent was to allocate.
Second.
We have a motion to approve and a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion passes unanimously.
First reading, ordinance number 21069.
All right, next.
All right, this next one was
Motion
brought
to
up-
approve. Sorry.
We have a motion to approve and a second. This is the ordinance that has to do with yard regulations. We're in discussion. Anyone? All in favor of the motion to approve, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The motion is approved unanimously.
First reading, ordinance number 21070.
All right, next. Item 7.
Yes, sir. First reading for an ordinance to amend sections 156007, 171, 304, 318, and 325 of the Town of Mount Pleasant zoning code related to hotels, inns, boutique hotels, and parking requirements for the same.
And let me, point of order, yes,
I'd like to make a motion to go into executive session.
Second.
For this item
for the purpose.
of what's stated on the agenda.
Yes, we just need to make sure the motion is for the purpose of receiving legal advice.
Yes, sir.
Thank you very much. We have a motion. We have a second. We're in discussion. Mr. Pagliarini, are we in compliance by doing so?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we would be. All in favor of the motion to go into executive session to receive legal advice on this item, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session, the usual? Huh? Courtroom B. Thank you. Executive session, which was to receive legal advice pertaining to item 7. Give me just a second. Got to go back several pages. Item 8A7, which is first reading of an ordinance to amend certain zoning codes. No action was taken, no votes were cast, so this puts us at item 7 on the agenda. If staff wants to begin discussing it, or if there is a motion that precludes that from the body. So, Ms. Reed.
So just a brief background, August 2nd, there was a discussion at the Planning and Development Committee meeting. The items brought up of concern were referred back to Planning Commission, where August 18th, we had a Planning Commission meeting for discussion and recommendations. Out of that came several items that we took back to Planning and Development Committee September 7th. And at that point, we were given additional recommendations, and I have a draft ordinance before you tonight, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move to approve.
We have a motion to approve, and we have a second. We are in discussion.
Yes, sir.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, I like everything we have here. I think it reflects that we have some issues with the current zoning and definitions in our zoning ordinance, which, we're going through changes. We just heard from the consultant talking about changes to the zoning ordinance in the Shem Creek area. I have a concern that we need to follow our procedures as it relates to the Planning Commission having full discussion and public hearings about issues which reflect on our zoning code. And as such, I'm going to be voting against first reading, but I will have a second motion depending on what happens.
Thank you, sir. Others? Any other comments? Yes, Ms. Hyatt.
Mr. Pagliarini, well, this is going before, from here it will go to Planning Commission.
Ma'am, if there's first reading, a public hearing before our planning commission is required. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, and when would be the early?
The next available meeting would be October.
October, and that's the third week in October?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you.
And just to add, and as such, a second reading would be in November?
According to regular council meeting schedule, it would go through Planning Commission for a public hearing, and then in November, yes, sir.
Right.
Would be final reading.
And so second reading would occur after a public hearing by the Planning Commission, at which there could be amendments based on the feedback from the Planning Commission, correct?
Yes, sir. Every one of our ordinances is subject to amendments at second reading. Yes, sir.
Thank you. All right, any other discussion? All right, the motion is to approve first reading of item 7 to amend certain sections of our zoning code. All in favor of the motion, please say aye. Aye. All right, the clerk is asking for a roll call, please. All right. Hold on just a second. Let me grab my tally sheet. All right, the motion is to approve. If the clerk will call the roll.
Mr. O'Rourke.
No.
Mr. O'Rourke votes no. Mr. Rambo.
Yes.
Mr. Rambo votes yes. Mr. Santos.
No.
Mr. Santos votes no. Ms. Whitley.
No.
Ms. Whitley votes no. Mr. Chapman.
No.
Mr. Chapman votes no. Ms. Corley.
Yes.
Ms. Corley votes yes. Ms. Hyatt.
Yes.
Ms. Hyatt votes yes. Ms. Landing.
No.
Ms. Landing votes no. Mayor Haney.
Yes.
Mayor Haney votes yes.
So the motion fails by a 5-4 vote. Is there another motion?
Yes, sir, Mr. Mayor. I would move that we send everything in the material that's before us back to Planning Commission for their review and the holding of a public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to refer, and let me make sure I have this straight. That would be this entire packet of the proposed zoning amendment changes. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
And then for them to discuss it and hold a public hearing.
All right. Would that specify at which meeting? The next available meeting?
Next available meeting, yes, sir.
Okay, just to be clear, is that the second?
No, I second.
The second
Yes.
agrees with that, okay. So we have the motion, we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, the motion passes unanimously. It will be referred to the Planning Commission. This moves us to Section B, which is old business. Final reading, items 1 and 2 are.
Move to deny items 1 and 2.
Second.
Second.
We have a motion to deny items 1 and 2. Is there any discussion? All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Oh, wait,
Can I ask you a question?
sorry. Yes, sir.
Thank you.
Mr. O'Rourke.
This is my question I was asking before. Got it. If we have the applicant that is saying they're not for this, what brought it to, why are we addressing this? If they don't want it, why don't they just take it off and then there's nothing for us to do?
If they withdraw, if they pull back, they will not get sewer. They only get sewer if we approve or deny. But if they withdraw the request, there's no sewer access.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, I'm pretty sure I won't be on the winning end of this one either, but I would like to say this. That development is going to be built, in my opinion, no matter what. If we deny or approve, it's going to be built. All of the things mentioned, I think really, as the town of Mount Pleasant, don't matter to us. If that's built or not built, no, I'm sorry. When it's built, we will have impact from that development being built. But if it's not in the town, we get none of that money. And I'm sure that, there'll be part of the fire contract and all the other things that we'll be doing there. But I just feel like we're going to have the impact and we're not going to get the money for it. It was originally requested that it comes to the town, and I know that the Phillips community is pushing hard for all the designations, but we've got other areas in this town that, in my opinion, are as historic. 10 Mile, 6 Mile, Snowden, all these areas. And I wish that protecting settlement communities was a consistent discussion that we were having about all of them. And so I'm not saying that I'm not for that. I am for that. But at the end of the day, this is getting built. We're not getting any of the money. So what we're saying then is, for the other 90,000 people in the town, you subsidize this place. And for that reason, that's why I'll vote no.
Great. Any others? Yes, sir. Mr.
I
Chapman.
just want to say that chairperson of the Planning Committee of Town Council has worked very hard to try to bring in settlement communities with the idea that in the past, maybe the town didn't make an effort. We're making an effort. We're continuing to make an effort. And initially, I thought this probably should be annexed. So I understand what Councilmember O'Rourke is saying. I'm just saying we can't just say we're not thinking about all of the other settlement communities, including the Phillips community. And we've even created a commission of representatives to talk about what we can do to help the settlement communities in Mount Pleasant. So I don't accept we're not recognizing them, because not only are we, but we're trying to do better with the dialogue. We just didn't quite get to this as soon as we should have, probably. But by the same token, I understand the Phillips community's concern, and that's why I'm voting to deny the request for annexation.
All right, any other discussion? All right, the motion is to deny. All in favor of the motion to deny, please say aye.
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 Any opposed?
No.
All right, motion passes and is denied. Item number 3. this
Motion
is-
to approve?
We have a motion to approve. Did I hear a second? Okay, we have a motion to approve and a second. Any discussion?
I have a discussion, same discussion I gave with first reading, and that is that this is an area that's going to be impacted with whatever is done on 41, no matter what. And I'm concerned that we have no plan. We don't know what's going to happen here. And as a result of that, I'm going to vote no, probably be the only one to vote no, but I'm going to vote no. There should be some kind of a plan in that segment where there's several big parcels that at some point are going to be developed. They need to be developed together, and that's why I'm going to vote no.
You won't be the only one. I intend to join you for the same reasons. Any other discussion? All right, the motion is to approve. All in favor of the motion, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
No.
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 Uh-oh. Do we need to do a,
I have Ms. Whitley, Mr. Rainbow, Mayor Haynes.
wait, Mr. Rambo was a yes.
I was a yes.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Ms. Whitley, Mr. O'Rourke, me, and so it would pass by a 5-4, same as it passed for.
That's what first reading.
Let's make sure we're correct.
Yes, sir.
5-4, okay. All right, so, Mr. Demore, if you'll read the number, it passes.
Yes, sir. It's final reading, ordinance number 21060.
Thank you very much. Item number 9, committee action items. There are no committee action items. Item 10, new business action to establish a millage rate and sales tax credit factor. Hello, Ms. Kotoff. You waited a while.
Yes,
Hey,
sir.
good to see you back.
Thank you. The county's provided the town with our tax year 2021 property appraisals and assessment. So the town can certify it so that it can go on the tax bills. The assessed property values have increased 3.5% over tax year 2020, with now going from 1.09 billion to 1.12 billion in assessed value. The town adopted its 2022 budget using the millage rate shown here, 34.7 for operating and 4.6 for debt, for a total of 39.3 mills. This is the same millage that we had last year. Then when we talk about the local option sales tax credit factor, we are proposing to establish it at 0.0003, which is an increase over last year's 0.0028. And that increase means that it would reduce tax bills just a little bit more to make sure that what the county provides to us as the rebate back to residents for the local option sales tax is that we do maintain that. So therefore, it's recommended that we set our operating millage and our debt millage as the rate shown and our local option sales tax. And we do need to certify this before the end of the month to get it back to the county.
Okay. Was this a finance committee? Yes, sir.
It was, I would like to move for approval for this.
All right, we have a motion to approve and a second, assuming this was seen at finance and,
It was not seen at finance in detail, but it has been discussed in finance previously.
got it.
They did not get it to us in time. We've been checking, and we always fight that, can we get it to finance?
Got it.
But I did send Mr. O'Rourke the
Yes.
information.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. Any discussion? The motion is to approve. All right, all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes unanimous. Old business, final, thank you.
I think I have the next one, too.
All right. An ordinance to repeal and replace Chapter 110 about general licenses in the Mount Pleasant Code of Ordinances. Thank you. Take it away.
Yes, sir. So this is the second reading of our business license tax. And it is in conformance with the state code. We are required before the end of the calendar year to go ahead and adopt it. We do have limitations. So what we've proposed is the rate schedule that you see here. We did take it back to Finance Committee just to make sure if anyone has any additional questions that we could answer them. We didn't have any. It does include, so there's no changes from the proposed, which do include these four businesses being put into Class 9 at the same rate that they would be if they were not in Class 9, but for future review for potential impacts that they have on our fire department. Also, we included in Class 9 these which had been in Class 8 at a different rate to continue for the economic stimulus portion of it. So the last slide I have simply tells you that we are in conformance. There's a 30-day grace period, and we do have an exemption for commercial lessors that lease to themselves.
Okay. And this is final reading. I believe it passed first reading. I believe it was unanimous. Yes, it was unanimous. So do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
I'll second it.
To approve?
To approve.
And we have a second. Is there any discussion? All in favor of the motion to approve, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right.
Thank you.
Ordinance passes.
Final reading, ordinance number 21064.
Thank you very much. Old business, item number 2 is the ordinance to amend Chapter 94 having to do with parades, demonstrations, assemblies. This came before the Police, Judicial, and Legal Committee. There are many, many facets to this, new laws in the state, how that affects what we're doing, other municipalities doing many things. And Mr. Rambo, you have the floor. Yes.
I would like to make a motion to send this back to the Police, Judicial, and Legal Committee for further discussion of some of the issues that you just mentioned and further discussions with other people. Well, sorry, that's the motion. I guess I'll stop there.
Do we have a second?
Second.
We have a motion and we have a second. We're in discussion. I'll just say as the chair of that committee, even since our meeting Monday, I've spoken with our attorney, the town administrator, and some others in that sending this back to committee and doing further look and just seeing what other municipalities are doing and many other things would be the wise move here. So I'm certainly in support of that. Any other discussion? All in favor of the motion to send this back to the Police, Judicial, and Legal Committee, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion passes. Item C is executive session for the matter of personnel to consider the application submitted to serve on the Planning Commission. Do we have a motion to go into executive session for that reason?
I move we go into executive session.
We have a motion and a second. If this passes, when we return, council may take action on any item, including any subsection of any section listed on an executive session agenda or discussed in an executive session during a properly noticed meeting. All in favor of going into executive session for the reason published, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We are in executive session. We have reconvened from executive session. No actions were taken, no votes were cast. If there is no motion arising from the deliberations in executive session, we will stand adjourned.